All right. Hello there, everybody. I am Captain Jim Palmer, and I'm the Dream Business Coach. I'm the founder of the Dream Business Mastermind and Coaching Program, creator of No Hassle newsletters, and author of these 6 amazing books. But most importantly, today, I am the host of Dream Business Radio, now in its 10th year. This is episode 539. My special guest today is Brook Borup. Brook, how you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. It's a beautiful day in Tampa Bay.
I know, in Tampa, and I should tell people your big office is under construction, so you're actually outside, but there's no weed whackers coming by, so that's a good thing. And Tampa, this Saturday, Stephanie and I are heading to Florida for a month, so not quite to the Tampa area. We'll be in St. Augustine, but anyway, same state. Seems kind of
fun. Absolutely.
Which is, unless you're in Rhode Island, the same state doesn't mean anything. So anyway, hey folks, this episode of Dream Business Radio is brought to you by the Dream Business Mastermind and Coaching Program. If you're an entrepreneur or small business owner who is tired of slow to no growth in your business, if you're feeling overwhelmed, unfocused, but especially, I always say a double, especially if you're looking to find out, there's some bad English already creeping into the show. If you are seeking multiple streams of revenue, something I'm very good at, then you want to check out the Dream Business Mastermind. Right now, we have about 25 entrepreneurs in the group led by me, Captain Jim Palmer. You can go to dreambizcoaching.com, dreambizcoaching.com. All right, let me tell you about my special guest today who is sitting outside in Florida for all you people up in the Chicago area. She is the founder of My Clone Solution, and Brooke sees herself as the architect of her dreams and those of others on the entrepreneurial journey. She has a team of project managers and tradesmen waiting to help you build structure so your business can keep growing successfully, brick by brick, piece by piece, as they say, until you can both stand by and say, we built that. Look what we built. We did it my way. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Now, Brooke has been described as your Swiss Army knife for business. She's kind of like a jack of all trades, and she's put together this amazing team. And I'm just excited to talk to her today. Brooke, how are you today once again?
I am doing fantastic. Like I said, it's a beautiful day in Tampa Bay, and I am from Michigan originally. So I understand the cold and all of the things. My family is up there. So it's just me here in Florida because I needed to be warmer. And 14 years ago, I made that a reality.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, so one of my expressions, one of my Captain Jim isms is you can learn to delegate or stay small forever. And I'm a big fan of entrepreneurs who seek to grow beyond their immediate, in my case, 22 years ago, almost 23 years ago, my dining room table on an old Acer computer. You know, when you start growing and you start taking on clients, there is a need to get some help, right? And one of the expressions, I was going to ask you about this later, but it just popped into my head, so I'll go with it now. One of the things that, you know, entrepreneurs say, I'm sure you're familiar with this because you and I were talking right before we went live. We kind of serve the same audience. And it's, nobody can do it as good or as cheap or as fast as I can, so I might as well do it myself. Again, delegate or stay small forever. So what I wanted to ask you, first of all, just to get a little bit of backstory, did you go to college to become a lawyer and say, screw that, I'm going to go be an entrepreneur? Or did you have parents or grandparents that kind of show you what it's the other side of the W-2 paycheck?
Yeah, a little bit more of that.
Okay.
I grew up in a family where we had 11 businesses in my immediate family. Now I say businesses very loosely because I always thought it was a business. Growing up and watching my dad work 90 hours a week, swinging a hammer. He's had his own business. I was always very proud of that, but I never wanted to work 90 hours a week. So I always said, I'm not going to own my own business.
Okay.
I went to work. I did go to college. And I have worked in corporate and hospitality and customer service and all those things in the administrative piece of all of that. And then when I got into business, I realized that my family, who were all business owners, just created themselves a job. Right. And so I wanted to make sure that I could help all of those entrepreneurs, all those business owners out there that basically created themselves a job, turn their job into a business that could make money, even if they decided to go on vacation, or the business could be valued higher when they needed to sell it. I've been through a lot of things with different in the entrepreneur space with my different clients, and there's always unexpected that happens. And I make it my goal to deal with the unexpected before the unexpected happens. And sometimes that's rough.
It's a very important trait of leadership, and I share this with my clients sometimes. If you're building a new program, I mean, it could be a marketing campaign or a new product program, something. Just when you've got all the kinks worked out and you're ready to push the go button, I guess metaphorically, you stop and you ask yourself, what could go wrong? Because it's like the other side of your brain, right? That's already charging down. What could go wrong? And you start thinking about that, and that allows you to kind of either fix those or keep those from going wrong in the first place. What did your parents and aunts, uncles, and everybody else? What did they think of you're going to be an entrepreneur?
It's actually funny because I'm sure all of you have seen those videos that come out that's like, Dad, what do I do? Right. And then the
Yeah.
dad puts out, the answer, and it's never the right answer. Right.
Yeah.
I'm the exact same way. My sister is a trauma room nurse. My brother swings a hammer with my dad. And I'm like, Brooke helps people run their business. Like, that's all I get, right? No, like, my parents don't have a clue. It took me 6 years to get my dad to let us do his books.
Oh my goodness.
Right? I had to convince him. He was my worst client ever, and now he's that emergency client. Hey, can you jump on Zoom with me? I have a problem.
Or how do you work Zoom?
He's pretty good at that,
Yeah.
but he's gotten there. But all of those pieces of business, now it's like, now I need to teach you how to have a succession plan. How do we transfer your business from you to my brother and make it so that, the roles can be reversed? And my dad has been a referral-based business for 30 years. He's never advertised. He's always just had clients coming in, and he's booked out for 2 years. My brother needs to be able to assume that, right? So now we have to work through that to make sure that my brother doesn't inherit a losing business because my dad's not there.
Right. So I'm a little familiar with like mergers, acquisitions, selling businesses. I almost sold my newsletter business twice. So I went through that whole process. And one of the things, well, people that are looking to buy a business are looking for a few things: cash flow, good customer list. But the third thing, which I think is almost more important, is, let's say you sell the business on Friday. On Monday, can the new owner show up and everything keeps working without you? And so as people start building their business from just being a solopreneur, et cetera, so many people are just like, oh, what am I doing today and this week? They're not thinking 3 or 5 years or 10 years down the road, when their business is going to be worth a lot more if it can function without them. So in a way, you're really getting them off on the right foot.
That's my life. So, I get brought in by a lot of business coaches and consultants that are working with clients that need to implement the strategy that they put in place for them, or that they've agreed upon. I also get brought in by business brokers.
Oh.
People come to them to sell their business, and the business can't run without them. And there's no systems and processes in place to literally get the business out of their head and onto paper. So I get brought in at those times so that we can architect the business, the foundation, and then we build it so that the business can run without the owner. Your business will usually be valued at least 2 or 3 times higher off the get-go if you've put the systems in place.
Brooke, did you go to school for engineering, or, is this just a natural? Because the reality is you have to be thinking down the road, and you have to fit in the missing pieces that frees up the entrepreneur to do other things or bigger things, right? So how did that come to you? Is that natural?
You know what? It is. It's actually kind of fun because I went to school for advertising and marketing with an emphasis in event planning. So that's just what I do. I figure out what the issues are going to be. I'm always prepared for everything. I work with a lot of amazing entrepreneurs, small business owners, business coaches, and I just learn things along the way. When you start talking to an M&A lawyer and they start bringing up different things, and I'm like, I know that. Great. Now I have my team. And that's, I'm not classically trained. I'm trained in in the trenches. Right. Right along with my clients. In the last 8 years, I have had 8 clients where their web designer or the person that owned their website died.
Oh my goodness.
leaving them with nothing, right? Everything was gone. I had a client that lost his domain name because he didn't renew it and got a $50,000 ransom from a porn site that had taken his domain name. Like I've been through, deaths. The business owner dies and the kids have to take it over and no one knows anything. All of these different things, you learn all of these pieces as you're bringing in experts. And then I just kind of learn it by osmosis, by being around and by being the doer behind all the strategy. And once you get to that point, now I can be like, all right, let's take your entire business from marketing to sales to operations to loyalty program and the whole thing. And let's write it all down, put all of those pieces in writing with job descriptions, put the automation and the systems in place, and then I can make your business duplicatable. And, this can happen over a period of a month. It could happen over a period of 10 years. It just depends on how motivated you are to be able to get out of your business.
Yeah. So I'm a marketer at heart, and I got to tell you, I like the name My Clone Solution because one of the expressions, if I could just clone myself, is that how you came up with that?
Absolutely. And 8 years ago when I came up with it and I said, I'm a virtual assistant service and I'm a VA. They're like, what? Veterans Affairs? Who are you cloning?
Oh my goodness.
Like this is only 8 years ago. We've come so far. Now, these terms are everywhere. Everybody knows what a VA is now, and it's not Veterans Affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to differentiate myself from those folks that are just the VA side. Now I employ those people, but there's something else we bring to the table in order to be able to set you up for success, both on the technology automation side and the delegation side.
Well, so I was checking out your website, which I do. I actually do prepare for these interviews. And it's interesting because you and your team do so many things. I mean, from helping people with their social media and all these things that a VA firm might do, but yet you also have this, I'm going to call it a higher level. I mean, when you're helping them create the programs and keep, staff and growth and succession planning, that stuff is way above what a normal VA firm would do.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Okay.
We have to have the doers, right? The doers have to be there. And the problem with a service-based company that only has doers is you as the business owner has to be the one that manages the whole thing.
Right.
And the problem with that is very rarely do we know what we do or how to delegate it without some sort of planning. And then we become the crux. So we're the crux now. This is where your point comes from the beginning of this interview was it's easier just to do it myself. Mm-hmm. It's only easier to do it yourself the first time, right?
Yeah.
The second time you can document it so that you can train it and give it to somebody else. And that's what I teach my business owners to do on the daily basis once we have a plan in place.
I'm flying off the seat of my pants, so my math is probably going to be wrong, but I think I'll still make the point anyway. So bear with me as you're correcting me out there. So if you want to earn $1 million, let's just say you're going to work 50 weeks a year, give yourself 2 weeks off. You're going to work 50 hours a week. That is $400 an hour. And then you'll earn $1 million at that pace. And so what I tell people who are just struggling to let go, like if you spend half a day either doing your books or half a day doing data entry or half a day doing invoicing or whatever it is, and you can hire somebody, whether it's an employee, virtual assistant, whatever, if you can hire somebody for $15 or $20 an hour, maybe even 25, and you're doing that work, you're worth $25 an hour. You're not worth the $400 an hour, right?
Correct.
So that's such a big leap for people, especially when you're if you're new and you're in that cash flow mode, like, I bankrolled everything on credit cards after 18 months of unemployment and cancer and all that. So I know what it's like to be tight for money. But as soon as the business started churning cash, I just kept throwing it into growth mode, knowing that the payoff would come, right? I imagine you probably your clients have a hard time with that as well. Do they not?
They do.
Okay.
I like to talk about things in a time-money continuum, right? So there's people that have a lot of money and there's people that have a lot of time. And, time is relative because none of us have a lot of time, but people would rather spend their time than spend their money. So the way that we get around that, or, work on that time money continuum, is I like to call it a choose your own adventure build. So we start off with the architecture, right? We sit down, we talk about your entire business, document everything in an initial call. Then I say, all right, here is your task list. If we want to accomplish and automate and delegate all of these pieces, this is what it's going to take. Here's the list of 300 to 500 tasks that need to be done.
Right.
What are you taking responsibility for? Right. And then from there, they can decide how much money they want to spend versus how much time they want to spend. And we can work it out over any sort of time frame. I've had people that just come in and say, Brooke, just do it, take it, get it done. Those are the money people. And then I have the people that are like, I want to do all of this, but it's going to take me like 4 years. And I'm like, cool, we're going to put you on a monthly retainer. We're going to have milestones and checkpoints every single month so that we make sure that we stay on task. Right. And when we put together stuff, it actually has a plan. It's not just like do this, do this, do this, right? So we put together the plan that sets it up for automation first, which means anything that can be automated will be automated. And then from there, we say, okay, this piece needs to be delegated. This piece needs to be delegated. This piece needs to be delegated. Well, at the beginning, that's delegated to you. But we set them all up with role-based emails. So sales at, admin at, operations at, whatever. We set those up with role-based emails that are all forwarded to the business owner until they're ready to hire for that job description. And when we come out of building that architecture out, they will have their job descriptions. They'll know how much time needs to be spent in each of those jobs. They'll know how much money needs to be paid for that job so that they can hire properly when they're ready. So we're putting all of this in place, knowing that we're going to delegate in the future. That's the goal, right? Scalability. We're going to delegate this in the future. And now we've already set them up for success.
That's really smart. So when I started my first business, I was at chief cook and bottle washer. I was writing newsletters, designing them, overseeing the printing and mailing, getting in my car, delivering the extras to clients. It was very local, right? But then when I created No Hassle newsletters and I wanted to scale it nationally, and then I figured out, hey, people can use it internationally, I could not do it all. So I did go through that painful process. I hired a project manager because there's writers and then there's the designers. And Brooke, what was happening? Because for a while there, I was like still the orchestra leader, even though, hey, look at me building a team. Well, one day, and our new issues always come out the first of the month. So one day, it's about 5 days or 3 days before the first, and my designer goes, I don't have the articles yet. And I said, what do you mean? Why are you telling me now, right? And so I had to go to the writer. So anyway, I hired a project manager, pretty much who does what you do. And she said, we need some software. I said, don't tell me, just find what you want, find what will work. I think it might be called High Rise or something like that. And so everything happens by a date. And if it doesn't happen, it triggers a memo or something. It's pretty seamless now. Yeah. I mean, that literally was one of the main things that I learned, which allows me, I'm very blessed to only work 3 days a week now. And I traveled for 5 years on that boat. But having this thing in place, the newsletter company runs completely automated. The only thing I do is coach my clients and host my interviews and things. But it's because everything got automated, and it was painful. It didn't happen in a month. I mean, it was probably a year almost, probably 6 months of like, oh, I hate this. And then it started flowing, and then you got it worked out. But that's what that allowed me to almost sell that business, right? Because it was fully automated.
Yep. And automation doesn't have to be cold. Yeah. Right. That's what everybody thinks is, oh, you're going to put automation in place and it's going to look like those ads I get on Facebook. No, automation doesn't have to be cold. It's written by a human, either you or us or our copy or, who knows, whoever writes the stuff. But it's written to be what I like to say generally specific. Right. So we talk to the audience where we need to talk to the audience, and that audience could be external. It also could be internal, and we set up, for instance, podcast guesting automation, right? So
Okay.
there's an application that happens. When they fill out the application, we get all the information we need, and it goes through all these steps. And when the application comes in, it sends a message to our guesting manager that says, hey, you have a new application, either approve or deny. And it literally has the instructions for what to do. So if my guesting manager leaves me,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to bring in somebody else, or, whatever else happens, my delegation is by the role, not by the person.
Wow.
Right. So, and that's how we like to set up all of our clients. So we don't have to worry about turnover. We don't have to worry about training people over and over again. I want people to bring in their new team member, and it's here's your job description, here's your email address, everything, all of the training is in there. Here's our project management system. Everything is automated, so you'll be told exactly what to do and when to do it. And oh, by the way, there's a list for things that are outside the scope that we just need to get done. That's for when you don't have anything else to do.
You know the old expression, the cobbler's kids have the worst shoes, but that's not your business, right? Sometimes you're so busy but you have set up the process as you just described. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
So I would like to find out, what do you tell your clients who struggle with letting go? And then I'll tell you what my advice is.
I tell them, well, you have to, right? Your business is going to, like, what if you get hit by a bus? That's my
Mm-hmm.
famous last line. What if you get hit by a bus? What's going to happen to your clients? What's going to happen to your business? What's going to happen to your family? Because ultimately someone's going to have to do something. Right. And so that's usually the conversation starter. Some people are like, oh, and other people are, I just have to beat them over the head for a while.
Yeah.
Great. I do that via Zoom. So, I'm not easy. I'm easy to work with, but I'm not hard, or I'm easy to work with, but I'm very hard to work with.
Yeah.
Right. Because I make you do things, and
That's
they're
pretty cool.
uncomfortable because they're not used to it.
So what I tell some of my clients is that, look, you need to become 80% comfortable with the result. Meaning, if you're holding on to this, nobody can do it as good or as fast or as cheap as I can. What if they can do it 80% as good and you don't have to do it at all? But it allows you to go finish your doggone book that you've been working on for 20 years, or update your website from 1910 or whatever. In other words, it allows you to do all those other $400 an hour tasks. That's good. The second thing I tell them, and just because I'm a little bit of a control freak, which I think most entrepreneurs are, so we've had like over 1,200 small business owners with No Hassle newsletters. And at the time, I had 5 internet companies plus my coaching clients. So every day there's credit cards being processed, right? And then I would always see those. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. But then I would also see the declines, which may just be a bad expiration date. And I'd see those. And Brooke, just because of the way I am, I'm like, oh, crap, something declined. And it might be for $37. But mentally, so you know what I did? I unplugged. I put in the system which says you're in charge of, you monitor this every day. If something declines, here's the procedure. And it's like goes over 7 days. An email, a phone call, they work it out. So I don't have to see it, because I recognize those declines, even the little ones, they set me on fire in my head. Yeah. So I don't see it. And I see, after about 5 or 7 days, I get contacted by someone on my team and says, Jim, I want you to be aware of this. And then I come into it. Yeah. So you have to realize, I guess, first of all, nobody will ever do it as good as you, but having somebody else do it allows you to move forward. And 2, recognize where your weaknesses are so you can step aside and grow your business. So I'm loving the interview, and I feel like time's really zipping by. What are some of the services that you and your team do for small business owners, especially, let's call them the newer entrepreneurs? They may have a team of 1 or 3, or maybe they're solopreneurs, Brooke.
Yeah, most business owners, solopreneurs, that's who we serve. So most of the time, our clients only have staff if they're technical staff. I.e., I have a painting company that has 12 crews, but it's all run by one guy.
Okay.
Right? So, that's just the way that we do business, right? As entrepreneurs. Services we provide, there are a lot. So I don't want to go through all of them because it's going to make your head spin. What I like to tell people who want to get to know me or want to refer me to someone is, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are doing everything inside of your business and you want to figure out how you can get help, how you can move from where you're at to a scalable business, just have a conversation. We do not do sales. So that's like, there's sales teams out there that will do that for you, but we
Mm-hmm.
will make your sales team rock stars, right? We do not actually coach your clients, because that is, if you are a coach, that is your space, right? We are not the
Mm-hmm.
technician of your business, but we can make your job so much easier, and so many things can be in place. That is what we do. So we are here to help you build the infrastructure of your team or infrastructure of your business, and to keep you and your future team moving along the line in the most efficient and productive way possible.
So I just want to be clarify. So you're not a coach. If somebody needs coaching advice, wisdom, things like that,
Yep.
but you're running the show behind the scenes, so to speak, and setting up the policies, procedures, and structure to grow.
We are implementation. So
Okay.
we take those where I want to go, or the strategies that you get from your coach, or, whoever is telling you you need to do this. I'm the person you consult before you
Okay.
do it. To give you just a quick example, I had a woman that I talked to a couple of weeks ago, and she's already paying $1,000 a month for software.
Okay.
And she joined a program, and this program said, well, in order to use our program, you need to buy this software. All of it was redundant. So she bought it because they told her she had to, because that's how their system works. But once she gets through with that program, we're going to go through all of her systems, and we're going to get rid of the redundancy. And I'll take her bill that is currently $1,400 a month, and I'll knock it down to about $300 a month, with all of the exact same processes and everything that she's doing. And I will teach her how to use it. She will have videos for her team, and it will be delegatable.
Wow. It's interesting because in a way it's almost like you're on the lifeguard chair. You're looking down, right? You're seeing what's going on down there. And that has happened to me too. Let's see, I think we got a comment there, Jeff Herring. Hearing the money wasted on program breaks my heart. I know. We've all done it, right? Yeah. I mean, raise your hand unless you haven't wasted money somewhere sometime. So I'm curious, Brooke, we probably got about a good 5 minutes left here. How do you feel about the speed to market versus slow and steady as they go, so to speak?
All right. So you need to make money in order to build infrastructure.
Okay.
So, depending on as I talk to people, where they're at in their market, you need to start with something. And it just depends on what it is you're starting with. I have theories and strategies on building a course. Lots of people want to take their coaching business and turn it into a course. That's great. Do not spend $15,000 to validate your idea.
Yeah.
Right. So there's certain things that we can do to get you to market and get you selling, and we can put the servicing in place as you're selling, that sort of thing. So everybody's different, and every client is always going to be different in this place, but we need to make sure that you have the money to be able to spend to build the infrastructure, and you need to be able to sell and service at the same time you're doing this. So as long as anybody who's working with me is on the same page, and we have the milestones and we keep up on it, that's the number one thing.
Is it you or someone on your team or both because to me, business is just like the speed of light.
Yeah.
All of a sudden there's, AI and all this different stuff. And I mean, I don't want to sound like an old dinosaur, but between TikTok and all these different things, so in 2009, when the Kodak flip camera came out, that's how old I am. It was $99 and you could shoot video, but there's no sticks back then. Or so you're holding your camera like this. This is awkward, right? But there's all these different things, and also not just equipment, but technology. So if you're helping people automate to be efficient, someone on your team's like diving into the latest and greatest?
Yes and no. There's a lot of, we're looking at a lot of stuff that comes out on the back end. And, I find stuff that's like, oh, we could use this in the future. I just bought like $2,000 worth of AI programs with a 60-day return policy, and we ended up keeping 2. So I
Okay.
spent $300 and returned the rest of it. And so now we have the AI stuff that we're using for our clients. There's always new stuff to learn. We don't do paid ads. The reason I don't do paid ads is because, you guessed it, Facebook and Google change every single week. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that you're paying to do paid ads for you, you're really paying them to know exactly what they're doing, because they take that time, that money, and turn it into knowledge for you. Right.
Okay.
What we are doing is infrastructure to the business. So I want to make sure that any technology that we put you in is going to grow with you. An example of this is I met with a woman and she had a website that was being designed on Squarespace. And I'm like, well, that's great. Squarespace has a great website, but you want to have a coaching program, you want to have a membership, you want to be
Mm.
able to have a conference and do all. I'm like, if you have a Squarespace website, these things cannot be done on your site. So now you have to invest in an additional site or an additional software,
Yes.
where if we build on WordPress, I can plug a whole bunch of different things in to make all of your stuff happen on your website. And then you don't have the additional costs. Yes, you have plugins and stuff like that, but you're not duplicating websites. You're not duplicating costs of upkeep and maintenance on that. So I like to make sure that we're in small business budget. I treat your money just like I treat mine.
Mm-hmm.
I would never put you through something that I have not already gone through or done with another client. And we want to make sure that we're being cognizant, not only fiscally responsible to your business, but efficiency responsible to your business.
That probably would have been a better question if I was able to roll back this live interview. Instead of you being the head of everything technology wise, I mean, I know I've worked with customers who use one thing for email. They have a separate shopping cart. They do this for their training platform. I'm like, what in the world? It's all so cumbersome
There's too
and it
much room for
doesn't talk
error
to
in
each
that.
other. Yeah. So we'll pretend the other question, which you handled fine, but is that what you do? Do you help people who already have sort of, went off here and there and got all these different things? Do you help them sort out which one they need to keep and then bring everything together?
Yes, in some cases. In other
Okay.
cases, we make what they already have efficient. If they have the right tech stack to be able to do what they're trying to do, not just for today, but for the 5-year plan and the exit strategy, or the growth strategy in all of that. So some
Hmm.
things that people get because they're cheap, they're easy, the whole thing. I make things that are easy. They're not as cheap as the cheap and easy, but they will definitely grow and scale with you. So if you want a scalable business, you need to have technology that will scale. And I can tell you that if you start with something and then you try and get out of it 5 years down the road, you never planned for that. And it is painful. And I've been through it so many times. We do the best that we can, but that phrase crap in, crap out
Yeah.
is a huge CRM thing. And, I have people that are paying for CRM systems for 4 or 5 years and never send an email. Their database is horrible.
Yes.
There's no consistency in anything they do, and consistency will break your business. Inconsistency will break your business.
Yeah. Um, so man, I could just talk to you I'm gonna keep you for 2 more minutes if that's okay. What's interesting is and this isn't Jim get on the couch and show all my insecurities, but every once in a while I'll go through the credit card with a magnifying glass other than just reconciling it. And I did that like 3 years ago and found out that I'm still doing a monthly payment on a program that I hadn't used in like 2 years. Right?
Yep.
I see the name and I'm not going to say what it was, but it says, "Oh, that's right. I use that." And then I finally had a conversation with somebody who says, "We're not using that anymore." I'm like, "Oh, crap."
Yep.
So that's probably initially, I'm guessing, some of what you do. Here's where you are now. Here's where I think we ought to get to, and let's figure out the best road to get there.
Yeah, my initial discovery call is a 2-hour. Well, I have a quick call that gets us introduced, and then if you want to go forward, my first discovery call is 2 hours, and we sit down and you get a doc when we schedule that appointment, and it has who are the people on your team, what do they cost, and what are they responsible for, and who manages them.
Okay.
And then what are all of the softwares that you pay for? What are all the softwares that you use? What's the renewal date? and what's the price point,
Mhm.
right? All of those things so that I can actually look at that. And the woman I was telling you about a little bit earlier with $1,400 a month in subscriptions,
Mhm.
we're going to go through all of hers. She may find that there's even more than that. That's just the one she knew about when we were on our initial 20-minute call.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you that a year's worth of that I will be paid from the savings.
That's awesome. So, Brooke, this is where we've come to the point in the show. I'm going to say, how do people connect with you? But so unless it's different, give your website. But you say you offer this this initial call, just to see if it's a good fit. So, if it's different than your website, give that information also, if you would.
It's on my website too.
All
So
right.
you can go to myclonesolution.com, or if you want to Google my name or my company name, I come up all over the place because I love doing interviews like this and talking to people. It's amazing. But if you want to book that call directly, it's just call.myclonesolution.com, and that'll take you right to the booking page on the website. And we will book that 22-minute call, and I'll see you on my calendar.
And I knew this was going to be a great interview, and it really was. Thank you, Brooke. And I asked Brooke before we went live, I said, we get way more people watch it on replay because, I don't know, maybe they're working at 3:30 on Friday. But I said, stay tuned, because some people either might say, thanks, Brooke, great information, or they might answer a question. So if you do ask a question, Brooke and I are connected on Facebook, especially, and I think LinkedIn also. So just use her name, and she promised to get back to you. Correct?
Absolutely.
I knew you wouldn't say no at that point, right? That would be pretty bad. Brooke,
Slide
thank
into
you.
my DMs.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brooke. I really appreciate your time today. It's a great interview.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Hey, folks, that wraps up this very special and, may I say, highly informative interview with my special guest, Brook Borup. And listen, delegate or stay small forever. And that doesn't necessarily mean you be your own project manager. If this isn't your area of expertise, you want to work with somebody like Brooke. So connect with her, learn from her, and do post if you're watching this on replay. Do thank her for the information. And anyway, and by the way, if you want to connect with me somewhere other than right here on camera, you can connect with me at getjimpalmer.com. If you're interested in joining me and about 25 other very smart, growth-oriented entrepreneurs, that would be the Dream Business Mastermind. You go to dreambizcoaching.com. But that's it. Until this time next week. Oh, I almost forgot. You can get all 6 of my books for free in digital format as part of my legacy building program. They are free at Amazon, obviously, as Kindle. If you go to Barnes & Noble, which is BN or BNN.com, they're Nook books, and in the iBook store, they're all free. Download. No opt-in, no nothing. Just get a good education on me. That's part of what I'm trying to do for just to make a bigger impact, because I don't want to work more than 3 days a week. So that's what I'm doing. But until this time next week, I am Captain Jim Palmer, the Dream Business Coach, and you take good care.